It's undeniable that Rugrats was one of those cartoons that really represented the 90s. Heck, even now, for many of us, the memories of this cartoon live on, and we consider it one of the greatest Nickelodeon shows ever made. And because of this, we either forgot or in some cases turned a blind eye to some of the less lighthearted moments and themes. Truthfully, despite the glee and laughter and fun, when you peer a little deeper into the Rugrats universe, at times, it can actually be a dark, lonely, and uninviting place cloaked in a shadow of sadness. Well, maybe that is a bit of an exaggeration, but these theories are pretty dark. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and these are dark theories about Rugrats that change everything.
The lipshits?
Children's personalities reflect the amount of attention they receive from their parents. Ever wondered how the babies developed their personalities? Well, Reddit user UCH1993 shared an interesting theory concerning this, one which doesn't exactly show the parents in the kids' universe in the best light. He argues that each child's personality is directly affected by, and consequently mirrors, how much attention they were given by their parents in their early life.
Hiya, baby!
We'll start off with Angelica, one of the characters who best brings this theory to light. We see that her parents have somewhat of a distant emotional connection to her, especially her mother, who is a bit of a workaholic. Angelica is very demanding, so her parents only respond to her attention-seeking antics by giving her whatever she wants, or by calling her princess.
Well, you see, Cupcake?
As a direct result, she has become spoiled and has also developed a very controlling personality, all because she is accustomed to getting everything that she wants.
You are a contestant in the Super Special Kids Talent Show!
Then there's Phil and Lil. They're obvious cases of what happens when parents are neglectful towards their children. The twins' parents almost never socially interact with their kids. As a result, Phil and Lil learn to depend on themselves from an early age, creating for themselves their own methods of keeping themselves occupied, most of which were not exactly within their best interest.
Maybe he's stuck in the refrigerator and he can't get out.
They play in the mud and eat bugs. Apart from being unhygienic and just downright nasty, the kids also exhibit personality disorders. Or at least that's what this theory suggests. They are quick to assume the erratic behavior of another, something which spells signs of psychological trauma. Hence, Phil and Lil's unstable personality and bad habits are a consequence of the neglect from their parents. I mean, no good parent would let their kids eat bugs, would they?
But now he got to add the special secret flavoring like mommy does.
Chuckie is often the one to be scared in every situation, regardless of the fact that he's older than Tommy, Phil, and Lil. The theory suggests that Chuckie is developmentally behind.
What's wrong, Chuckie?
This is likely due to the fact that his father, Chaz, babies him too much
Hi, Chaz.
and blows every small problem way out of proportion. Additionally, Chuckie could be afraid of everything because he was introduced to trauma at a very young age when his mother passed away.
Sometimes I dream about having a mom.
No matter the reason, Chuckie clearly has developed an irrational fear of much of the world. The creators were against parenting books. As we know, throughout the entire series, parents are seen to make constant reference to their parenting Bibles. This book on parenting is written by Lipschitz, a man who is revered and lauded as being instrumental in guiding parents on how to raise their kids, and who also possesses a name that makes me laugh as much as it did when I was a kid.
Look, Charles.
Lipschitz quiz column.
In the series, we eventually meet him, and his introduction was rather underwhelming to say the least.
Well, in my third book, Taming Your Toddler, 1995 from Las Vegas University Press, I explained that the infant should be lifted by his waist, not his armpits.
He didn't embody the persona expected of someone who is so well respected. Actually, he seems to not have a clue about kids whatsoever. When he's seen babysitting, he does an awful job. he seems to be a novice rather than an expert. More than likely, the creators probably added this character as a playful jab at the concept of parenting books and the more new age parenting techniques. It's well known that no book can prepare you to be a parent because no two children are the same. That, and the name Lipschitz, sounds like a word which, when said aloud, reminds us of something that's not exactly positive.
The Lipschitz isn't a mommy, it's a baby.
Credit goes to Mandalorian Fist from Reddit for this theory. The children are all figments of Angelica's imagination. By now, it's clear that Angelica is a girl who has been spoiled rotten by her parents. In light of this, she's seen to exhibit a number of negative behavioral traits, including being controlling and excessively demanding. But what's to say that she's not suffering from a psychological impairment as well?
Angelica the boss!
Based on a theory offered by Reddit user WrestleChick, the babies seen are all a byproduct of Angelica's imagination. Apparently, Angelica's mind conjured up these kids either as a means to have company from being neglected by her parents, essentially a side effect from the psychological trauma that comes from neglect, causing unique psychotic experiences, namely inventing babies which really don't exist. And if you really want to get dark, the Reddit thread goes on to suggest the possibility that the babies are all dead, and that in an effort to keep their memories alive, Angelica's mind is causing her to believe that they are in fact alive. Angelica is aware of these deaths, but feels traumatized, therefore her imagination constructs an ideal world in which they're all still alive. Honestly, this one's a little too dark.
I wish the whole world was like the circus, with all the cookies and candy you can eat.
Angelica was supposed to have a sibling. Similar to the previous theory, Reddit user Red Wing Runner offers yet another interesting twist surrounding Angelica's life. In the episode Angelica's Worst Nightmare, Angelica is scared that she might be getting a sibling.
I'm having a baby and you're going to have a little brother or sister.
Initially, she was against the idea as she felt that by having a younger sibling, her parents wouldn't pay as much attention to her as she would have liked.
Well, I was thinking that when the new baby comes, my friend might not get the same attention she usually gets.
However, as time dragged on, she began to warm up a little bit to the idea. Then, after she's finally accepted that there will be a new addition to the family, her parents give her the bad news. There actually won't be a baby, at least for now. It's believed that Angelica's mother may have had a miscarriage. After all, we watch the story unfold through the eyes of Angelica. So as a child, there's no way that her parents would relay that information to her at such a young age.
That's too bad, Mommy. I was just starting to think it would be nice to have a little baby around.
Dill Pickles is autistic. We all know that in the Rugrats universe, the babies and characters experience various challenges. However, Reddit user DoubleTrouble227 has offered a theory which puts Dill Pickles, Tommy's younger brother, at the center of a rather sad possibility. Dill might be suffering from autism, and there is overwhelming evidence to support this. Firstly, in the original run of the series, Dill is incapable of communicating with anyone, meaning neither babies nor adults. Viewers would notice that there's something a bit off with him because of this, as while the babies can't communicate with adults, they can at least communicate with each other. This indicates that Dill has some sort of impediment which makes it difficult for him to communicate easily with people. Now, this could simply be because he's a newborn, but if the other babies are capable of communicating, it's possible that this ability is supposed to happen from birth within the show's universe. Then, in All Grown Up, Dill's abnormal behavior continues. He isn't shown to follow typical social norms, nor does he really fit in. He creates shoes out of pillows and wristwatches made out of t-shirts.
If it's from Dill's mind, it's one of a kind. Shillos. Pillow shoes.
Another factor which makes some people believe that he's autistic is that Tommy is extremely protective over his younger brother. While a few people might feel that Tommy is just being a regular big brother to his younger sibling, others feel that he's protecting him because he knows that his brother has autism. If this is true, some say it's a sad outcome for poor Dill, especially considering that there doesn't seem to be any sort of assistance given to him to help him out.
Dill, are you awake?
A sad look at the Pickles family. Ever wondered why the Pickles parents seem to be struggling to take care of their kids? It does seem to be a bit odd when you look at it. After all, Stu, Tommy's dad, is an engineer who is shown to make some really amazing inventions. What's going on?
I programmed this baby with everything there is to know about being a mom.
Well, Taco Main from Reddit has an interesting twist on why the Pickles family isn't doing as well as they could be. It has to do with Stu's brother, Drew. Drew is obviously the more financially successful of the two brothers, although the source of his wealth is never overtly stated in the series. This is the catalyst for the theory.
Now, sweetheart, Daddy's got to put in a little overtime today.
Drew is probably a lawyer who oversees Stu's business relationships with his clients. Consequently, Drew stacks up a large percentage of his brother's profits, essentially getting the long end of the stick, while Stu doesn't score so well.
He what?
Consequently, the two siblings have a rivalry and tension which is felt even by the children. This also explains why Angelica is so mean towards Tommy and Dill. She recognizes that her father is committing a crime by robbing her uncle, so she doesn't treat her cousins well. Or her father's aggression towards his brother has rubbed off on her as well.
Let's get something straight.
Knowing that Angelica's father might be stealing from his brother is a pretty gloomy perspective, especially considering the ramifications it has on the way parents are seen in the series.
I knew it was too good to be true.
Dee Dee's parents might have survived the Holocaust. This theory comes from Reddit user Big Aki. Anybody remember Boris and Minka, Dee Dee's parents? They're Jewish parents who migrated either from Germany or Ukraine to the United States of America.
These are my father's wine glasses.
Given that the show came out in 1991, we can assume that they came to the United States between the 1950s and the 1960s. Consequently, given the time frame, it is probable that they fled Europe in an effort to escape the dangers after World War II.
A dumb holiday. Angelica, Passover is the greatest holiday of the year.
Bearing in mind that they're Jewish, which was a central aspect of their character, specifically in the very memorable Passover episode, the period right around the time they might have left Europe was obviously not a very safe time for them. Given the show began in the early 90s, they definitely would have been alive during World War II, probably in their 20s. Therefore, they left for the States in search of a better, safer life. While they might not have necessarily been victims of violence, Dee Dee's parents may have witnessed scenes that are simply unimaginable. But what do you think? The Rugrats was a great part of many of our childhoods, but like many cartoons, there are traces of darkness sprinkled in. Do you buy into any of these dark theories, or do you have any dark theories of your own? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But most importantly, stay wicked.